ARRLNTS Net nightly at 6:30 p.m. W5FC.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Lima Lima. Transmit test on Echolink.
This is the W5FC repeater, PL110.9.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. My name is Brenda, and I'll be your net control for this session of the VARC, Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmission. This weekly net operates on 146.88 MHz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-in to your Echolink are also possible using the W5 FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topic is astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio video links are available online. go to www.w5sc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. This net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. 1. General announcements. 2. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. 3. National Space Society events. 4. Discussion topic of the evening. 5. What's up? 6. Space exploration and space history. 7. Constellation of the week. 8. Space launches of the week. 9. Recent astronomical discoveries. 10. Visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. 11. Astronomical Q&A and 12. 73 rounds. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So let's start with low power and short time checking. Please come now when you call sign name and where you're transmitting from this evening.
Kilo India 5, Uniform Alpha Uniform, David, on an HC in the P.
Alright, we have Kilo India 5, Uniform Alpha Uniform, David. Okay, next up we have General Check-in.
Kilo India 5, Juliet Charlie Mike, Thomas Lewis, no traffic.
Good evening, this is Alpha Golf, Niner Sierra Golf, Antonio in Dallas.
Kilo 5, Juliet Delta Whiskey, John in Coppell.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill Farmers Branch.
This is November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay of Mesquite. Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz, Mesquite.
Alright, we have KI-5, Juliet Charlie Mike Thomas, AG9 Sierra Golf Antonio, Kilo 5 JDW John, KF5 ZBL Bill, N5 OF Oscar Foxtrot Clay, AF5JHA Chaz, and the next call sign. Sorry, I didn't get any of that except at the end, Wells Point. Would you like to try one more time? Come back very slowly. I got Kilo Oscar Bravo for last year call, and I think, I'm not sure. Come back to the station and your name, please. All right, let's do some echo link check-ins. We'll give you a couple of extra seconds. Please come now. All right, well, we'll come back and get some more check-ins after a while. Let's move on to general announcements. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's nest? The ham, astronomical, space, are of general interest to licensed hands. Moon Day is coming. DARC will be on site at the Frontiers of Flight Museum for Moon Day on July 22nd, 2023. Come join us in celebrating the exploration of the Apollo lunar landing on the moon. We'll need at least 2 to 4 people at the DARC radio tables throughout most of the day, 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central. We will also need help with setup starting at 8:30 a.m. and tear down at 3:30 p.m. If you can help, please fill out the form below. If you're coming to Moon Day to assist the DARC and did not sign up, that's okay. We'll still take your help. The AMSAT Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 2 nets available to Dallas residents on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central. We will be echoing installed and registered. You'll also you can find the net under groups and AMSAT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website, www.amsatnet.com. This net originates in Houston. Dallas AMSAT Net East, Dallas Fort Worth, Texas, is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on this repeater, 146.88 MHz, CL 110.9 MHz, Tuesday. Tom N5HYP is the net control. All are welcome to check in. Our Tuesday of the month is DARC Club Night, so no AMSAT East that night. Dallas AMSAT Net West is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.44 MHz, scale 110.9 MHz positive offset. The DARC hosted net On Mondays, we have first week is AM 1610. Second week, MCOM 101. Third week, another helping of AM 1610. Fourth week, E10. And fifth week, surprise net. If we told you what it is, you would be surprised. On-air participation is encouraged. Tuesdays, AMSAT-East, 8 p.m., QAs, info and news for amateur satellites. Fridays, Certain City Simulation, 8 p.m. Learn about emergency radio communications via cert-trained amateur radio operators. Ballista KI5ZR8 is usually net control. Visit the most disaster-prone cities in the universe every Friday. Cert City, all are welcome. On Saturday, TechNet, 7 to 8 p.m., and of course, Skynet. First and third Sundays, Dallas at Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air, modem. And every day at the URL Net, National Traffic System Training Net, every night at 6:30 p.m. All are welcome to check in on any or all of these nets. Now we have information on tonight's Afterglow movie. The movie is entitled Apollo 18. It was made in 2011. This is highly accurate, by the way. Lunar Module pilot Captain Ben Anderson set on the launch pad with Commander Nate Walker. They were to secretly land on the moon and deploy an ICBM detector. This secret mission was foisted upon them at the last second, and their canceled mission was reactivated. To prevent Americans from knowing about the mission, NASA and the DoD decided to launch the Saturn V at night. I didn't write this. When everyone was asleep, I wouldn't notice the 360-foot tall rocket taking off from the Cape. It worked. Most of Florida was nothing more than retired deaf and blind senior citizens. And launching the rocket after 9 p.m. guaranteed they wouldn't be noticed by the early Fed crowd. Join us for our next Afterglow movie, Apollo 18, 2011. Saturday, July 8th at 10:30 p.m. You can keep up with all DARC events and activities by going to the club website, w5fc.org. All right, we'll now take a digital check-in. Please come down.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot India, WD4MFI, Ted Dallas Low Power.
Kilo India 5, Kilo Whiskey Golf. This is Cruz in Arlington.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton. 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth.
Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray Kelly in Point.
Okay, we have Whiskey Bravo 4, MFI, Ted, KI5, KWC, Cruz, KG5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James, KB9, SOK, Sean, and K5, KTX, Kelly. All right, we'll pick up some more after a while. So, the Texas Astronomical Society Galaxy Map. I'd like to call on Chaz, KFI, JHA, now to give us some news.
Thank you, Brenda. Good evening, everyone. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, July the 28th. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also held on Zoom. The featured speaker is Michael Reimer, and his topic is going to be about the upcoming solar eclipses and the suggestions on what the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas should be doing for general public observing sessions. Now, the Saturday night public observing sessions have begun again. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night so that there would be an opportunity for live reports from the public observing sessions. So let's see now. This is the second Saturday. So on the second Saturday, the stargazing is held at Frisco. I didn't hear whether it was canceled or was still on. So if there is anybody at the Texas Star Party at Frisco, if they would like to come with a report from there, please come now with your call sign. Well, there's been some rain showers and clouds in the area. I'm not even sure if it was going on. So anyway, check the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas website at texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. And this is KF5, JHA, back to our net control. Brenda, it's back to you.
Thank you very much, Chaz. Next we have National Space Society events and activities. Bill, Inside TV, introducing the news. Okay, well, nothing heard from Inside TV, so we will move on. Maybe he'll come back later and give us the news. Now it is time for the discussion topic of the evening, which I'm going to do. It's about the Juno mission. Juno is the NASA space probe orbiting the planet Jupiter. It was built by Lockheed Martin. It is operated by NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. The spacecraft was launched from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station on August 5th, 2011. You can see as part of the New Frontiers program, Juno entered a polar orbit of Jupiter on July 5th, 2016. UTC began a scientific investigation of the planet. After completing its mission, Juno will be intentionally deorbited into Jupiter's atmosphere. Let's know explain changing the crash. Juno's mission is to measure Jupiter's composition, gravitational field, magnetic field, and polar magnetosphere. It will also search for clues about how the planet formed, including whether it has a rocky core, the amount of water present within the deep atmosphere, mass distribution, and deep winds, which could at least be up to 620 per hour, 390 miles per hour. Juno is the second spacecraft to orbit Jupiter after the nuclear-powered Galileo orbiter, which orbited from 1995 to 2003. Unlike all earlier spacecraft sent to the outer planets, Juno is powered by solar panels commonly used by satellites orbiting Earth and working in the inner solar system, whereas radioisotope thermoelectric generators are commonly used for missions to the outer solar system and beyond. For Juno, however, the three largest solar panel wings ever deployed on a planetary probe play an integral role in stabilizing the spacecraft as well as generating power. Juno's name comes from Greek and Roman mythology. The god Jupiter drew a veil of clouds around himself to hide his mischief, and his wife, the goddess Juno, was able to peer through the clouds and reveal Jupiter's true nature. A NASA compilation of mission names and acronyms refers to the mission by the acronym Jupiter Near Polar Orbiter. However, the project itself has consistently described it as a name with mythological associations and not an acronym. The spacecraft's current name is in reference to the Roman goddess Juno. Juno is sometimes called the New Frontier 2 as the second mission in the New Frontiers program, but it is not to be confused with the Horizons 2, a proposed but unselected New Frontiers mission. The Juno spacecraft's fleet of scientific instruments will determine the ratio of oxygen to hydrogen, effectively measuring the abundance of water in Jupiter, which will help distinguish among prevailing theories linking Jupiter's formation to the solar system. Obtain a better estimate of Jupiter's core mass, which will also help distinguish among prevailing theories linking Jupiter's formation to the solar system. Precisely match Jupiter's gravitational field to assess the distribution of mass in Jupiter's interior, including properties of its structure and dynamics. Precisely map Jupiter's magnetic field to assess the origin and structure of the field and the depth at which the planet's magnetic field is created. This experiment will also help scientists understand the fundamental physics of dynamo theory. Map the variations in atmospheric composition, temperature, structure, cloud opacity, and dynamics to pressures far greater than 100 bar at all latitudes. Characterize and explore the three-dimensional structure of Jupiter's polar magnetosphere and auroras. Measure the orbital frame dragging, known as limb-stirring precession, caused by the angular momentum of Jupiter, and possibly a new test of general relativity that's connected with the plaque to Jupiter dedicated to Galileo Galilei. The plaque was provided by the Italian Space Agency and measures 7.1 by 5.1 centimeter. It is made of light green aluminum and weighs 6 grams. The plaque depicts a picture of Galileo and a text in Galileo's own handwriting, penned in January 1610 while observing what would later be known as the Galilean moon. The text translates as, on the 11th, it was this formation. The star closest to Jupiter was half the size than the other and very close to the other, so that during the previous night, all of the three observed stars looked of the same dimension and among them equally afar. So it's evident that around Jupiter there are three moving stars invisible until this time to everyone. They were invisible up till then. Of course, we discovered, of course, them later, so there are 4 Galilean moons. Spacecraft also carries 3 Lego minifigures representing Galileo Galilei, the Roman god Jupiter, and his sister and wife, the goddess Juno. In Roman mythology, Jupiter drew a veil of clouds around himself to hide his mischief. Juno was able to peer through the clouds and reveal Jupiter's true nature. The Juno minifigure holds a magnifying glass with the sign of searching for the truth, and Jupiter holds a lightning bolt. The third Lego crew member, Galileo Galilei, has his telescope with him on the journey, and he's holding some kind of a globe. It might be a Jupiter globe. The figurines were produced in partnership with NASA and LEGO as part of an outreach program to inspire children interested in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Known as STEM, although most LEGO toys are made of plastic, LEGO specifically made these minifigures of aluminum to endure the extreme conditions of spaceflight. Among early results, Juno gathered information about Jovian lightning that revised earlier theories. Juno provided the first views of Jupiter's north pole, as well as providing insight about Jupiter's aurorae, magnetic field, and atmosphere. In 2021, analysis of the frequency of interplanetary dust impacts, primarily on the backs of solar panels, as Juno passed between Earth and the asteroid belt, indicated that this dust, which causes the zodiacal light, comes from Mars rather than from comets or asteroids that come from the outer solar system as was previously thought. Juno made many discoveries that are challenging existing theories about Jupiter's formation. When Juno flew over the poles of Jupiter, it imaged clusters of stable cyclones emitted distant poles. It found that the magnetosphere of Jupiter is uneven and chaotic. Using its microwave radiometer, Juno found that the red and white bands that can be seen on Jupiter extend hundreds of kilometers into the Jovian atmosphere, yet the interior of Jupiter isn't evenly knit. This has resulted in the theory that Jupiter doesn't have a solid core as previously thought, but a fuzzy core made of pieces of rock and metallic hydrogen. This peculiar core may be a result of the collision that happened early in Jupiter's formation. The end of the mission will occur September 2025 when it is crashed into Jupiter, or deorbited, as they say. All right, let's see if there are any more check-ins.
D5, DPS.
I'm sorry, did you repeat that for me?
Bobby. Whiskey, Delta 5, Baker, Papa, X-ray. WD5, X. In Wills Point, Texas.
Okay, I copy Whiskey, Delta 5, Bravo, Alpha, X-ray, but I didn't get your name.
Bobby. In Wills Point, Texas. D5.
Thank you, Bobby. All right, next up, we're in a segment called What's Up? On Ted, JHA. Go ahead, Ted.
Thank you, Brenda. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. We call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the next week or two. Slide Master, if we've got video tonight, I'm not sure if we do or not. That was slide 1. Slide number 2, please. Full moon was on July the 3rd. So the current phase of the moon is a waning gibbous. On July the 9th is the third quarter moon. On July the 17th, the moon is new. On July the 20th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 406,289 kilometers. The first quarter moon will be on July the 26th. The full moon, the next one, will be held on August the 1st. August 2nd, the moon will be at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 357,311 kilometers. Slide Master, slide number 3, please. Now, if it was clear enough, and if you were up this morning, the moon was in conjunction with the planet Neptune in the southeastern morning sky. Now, you would have needed a telescope in order to see the planet Neptune because it's very faint. It's not visible to the naked eye. Slide Master, slide number 4. On July the 10th, that's just in a couple days, the planet Mars and the star Regulus will be in conjunction in the western evening sky. Slide Master, slide number 5. Now, just a few hours later, on the early morning of July the 11th, the moon will be in conjunction with the planet Jupiter in the eastern morning sky. And the morning after that, slide Master, slide number 6, the next morning, July the 12th, the moon will be in conjunction with the planet Uranus in the eastern morning sky. Now, you'll need to at least have a pair of binoculars, if not maybe a telescope, to observe the planet Uranus, because it's kind of faint in the sky. In the countryside away from the city lights, Uranus is possible to be seen with just the unaided eye without any binoculars or telescope. Slide Master, slide number 7, please. Now, in the morning on July the 13th, the moon will be in conjunction with the Pleiades star clusters in the eastern morning sky. That'll be a great thing to see, so that's not too far off. Slide Master, slide number 8. Once again, the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, July the 28th, and 7:30 p.m. at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also held on Zoom. And the featured speaker is Michael Reimer, and his topic is going to be about the upcoming solar eclipses and what tasks the Texas Astronomical Society should do for public observing sessions. And, of course, the public observing sessions on Saturday nights have begun again. For detailed information about the meeting and the public observing sessions, go to the TASS website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. I think I repeated myself, yeah. Slide Master, slide number 9. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information? Or maybe you just have a general astronomy question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question. Okay, so slide Master, slide number 10. So as the moon wanes this week, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for a world that's the only one where humans live, at least for the moment. And until next week, well, actually I'll be doing another segment of Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5, JHA, back to our net control. Brenda, it's yours again.
Thank you, Chad. Now is the segment Space Exploration and Space History. And I'm going to be presenting this night. We alternate with Kelly, K5, KTX. But this night is my turn. So in news, there's a lot of interest in sunspots right now. The sun is partying like it's 2002. That's the last time the sunspot counts were as high as they are now. The monthly average sunspot number for June 2023 was 163, according to the Royal Observatory of Belgium Solar Influences Data Analysis Center. This eclipses every month since September 2022. Solar cycle 25 wasn't expected to be this strong. When it began in December 2019, forecasters believed it would be a weak cycle, akin to its immediate predecessor, solar cycle 24. If that forecast is panned out, our solar cycle 25 would be one of the weakest solar cycles in a century. Instead, solar cycle 25 has shot past solar cycle 24 and may be on pace to rival some of the strongest cycles of the 20th century. The last time sunspot numbers were this high, the sun was on the verge of launching the Great Halloween Storm of 2003, which included the strongest X-ray solar flare ever recorded, and that's 25. Auroras as far south as Texas and a CME so powerful it was ultimately detected by the Voyager spacecraft at the edge of the solar system. Next, NASA's Ingenuity Mars helicopter phone home. The 52nd flight of NASA's Ingenuity Mars helicopter is now in the official mission logbook as success. The flight, flight took place on April 25th. The mission controllers at NASA's JPL in Southern California lost contact with the helicopter as it descended toward the surface for landing. The Ingenuity team expected the communications drop out because the tilt stood between the helicopter's landing location and the Perseverance rover's position, blocking communication between the two. The rover acts as a radio relay between the helicopter and mission controllers at JPL. In anticipation of this loss of communication, the Ingenuity team had already developed recontact plans for when the rover would arrive back within range. Contact was reestablished June 28th with Perseverance crested the hill and could see Ingenuity again. The goal of Flight 52, a 1,191-foot and 139-second-long flight, was to reposition the helicopter and take images of the Martian surface for the rover's science team. The portion of Jezero crater the rover and helicopter are currently exploring has a lot of rugged terrain, which makes communications dropouts more likely, said JPL's Josh Anderson, the Ingenuity team's lead. The team's goal is to keep Ingenuity out of Perseverance, which occasionally involves temporarily pushing beyond communications limits. We're excited to be back in the communications range with Ingenuity and receive confirmation of Flight 52. Next, NASA's Webb identifies the earliest strand of the cosmic web. Galaxies are not scattered randomly across the universe. They gather together not only into clusters, but into vast interconnected filamentary structures with gigantic barren voids in between. The cosmic web started out tenuous and became more distinct over time as gravity drew matter together. Astronomers using NASA's James Webb Space Telescope have discovered a spread-like arrangement of 10 galaxies that existed just 830 million years after the Big Bang. The 3 million light-year-long structure is anchored by a luminous quasar, a galaxy with an active supermassive black hole at its core. The team believes the filament will eventually evolve into a massive cluster of galaxies, much like the well-known Coma cluster in the nearby universe. All right, next up, birthday. We have Wendy D. Lawrence, July 2nd, 1959. She flew on STS-114. Then Brenda M. Godwin, July 22nd, 1952. She flew on STS-37, 59, 76, and 108. Harrison Schmitt, July 3rd, 1935. She flew on Apollo 17. Norman Thagard, July 3rd, 1943. STS-7, 51B, 30, and 42. And Soyuz CM-21, year EO-18, and STS-71. Richard Garriott, July 4th, 1961, Soyuz TMA-13 / TMA-12 as a space tourist. Terrence Henry, July 5th, 1962, STS-44, 55, 70, and 78. Robert Michael White, July 6, 1924, excluded X-15, and he qualified as an astronaut because he flew to an altitude of 50 miles. And Kevin A. Ford, July 7, 1950, flew STS-128, Soyuz TMA-36M, 33 and 34. Next, space history. On July 4th, 1997, Pathfinder landed on Mars with the first Martian rover Sojourner. Pathfinder and Sojourner returned 1,000 of images from Mars and will outlive their primary skyline. On July 5th, 1969, in a pre-flight press conference in 1969, Neil Armstrong revealed that the call sign from the Apollo 11 command module was Columbia, and the lunar module was the Eagle. July 8th, 2011, the last space shuttle launch occurred on July 8th, 2011, when the shuttle it landed took off from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The mission STS-135 was the final flight in the space shuttle program, and it landed carried through 4 astronauts with a payload to fly to the International Space Station. The last mission was initially scheduled for June 28th, but was delayed due to bad weather. After a successful launch and docking with the space station, it landed returned to Earth on July 21st, 2011. NASA announced that the space shuttle program was ending after 39 years of service, shifting the focus to developing new spacecraft for deep space exploration. Alright, do we have any more check-ins at this time?
November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth.
Golf 5, Zulu Mike Golf, Joe in Arlington.
Okay, we have November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia, and then I believe the call sign is Kilo Golf 5, Zulu Mike Golf with Joe. Is that the call sign for you, Joe?
Kilo Golf 5, Zulu Mike Golf, Joe in Arlington.
Alright, thank you very much. Alright, moving on. Next, we have Nick Carroll's Constellation of the Week. Chad, KF5J8, is going to give this presentation. Go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, we're going to have to correct that part of the script. It's KF5JHA. We're missing the A off my call sign on that part of the script. Yes, Slide Master, slide number 11. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year, out of the 88 total constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week, and named this segment after her. So Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is Hercules the Strong Man. Hercules is the son of the god Zeus and a mortal mother. He's best known for his 12 labors, which was almost an impossible list of things that he was required to do. Hera, who had tried to kill Hercules ever since he was born, and induced a madness in him and made him kill his wife and children. Hercules went to the Oracle of Delphi to atone. He prayed to the god Apollo for guidance and was told to serve the king of Argos. For 10 years during this time, he was sent to perform a series of 12 difficult feats called labors. To this day, an almost impossible task is called a Herculean task. Slide Master, what everyone's been waiting for, the whole Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 12, which were the jokes of the week. So why is Hercules the most suitable midwife out of all the demagogues? Midwife? Oh, because he's already been through 12 labors. Get it? Get it? Okay. What do you call a female Hercules? Would that be a Hercules? You have to think about that one for a minute. What would you call a Hercules if he were one of the 7 dwarfs? Hermesnes? All right, that wasn't very funny. What is Hercules' least favorite car? Mercedes? I don't know if I like any of these. Everyone cheered when Hercules cleaned the Aegean stables. ... How would you fill that in? Except the people living downstream. If you don't know about the 7 labors, you've got to look this up. What motivated Hercules to face off the Serpis? Someone triple dog dared him. Slide master, slide number 13, please. SZ Hercules is a variable star that ranges the brightness from magnitude 10.2 down to magnitude 12. SZ Hercules brightness cycle repeats about every 16 hours, so you can collect a good portion of the brightness curve in just a single night of observing. SZ Hercules variability arises from the fact that it's a spectroscopic binary. In other words, one star goes in front of the other one and vice versa. Another star, S Hercules, is another variable star with a much longer period of 307 days. S Hercules varies in brightness from 5.9 down to a magnitude of 13.6. That's a big variability. Alpha Hercules, Rosh Algetha, I'm sorry, I'm not pronouncing it correctly, I'm sure, translates into the head of the kneeler. Burnham's Celestial Handbook notes that Hercules is often depicted as kneeling in the act of stringing his great bow. The beautiful double star with a reddish gold primary star and a bluish secondary. With this color combination, it looks like a miniature Albireo. And we've talked about Albireo on this net several times in the past. Slide master, slide number 14, please. The most famous Messier object is located in Hercules, M13, also known as NGC 6205. It's the great globular cluster of Hercules, the finest globular cluster north of the celestial equator. Discovered by Edmund Halley in 1714 and first mentioned in astronomical writings by him the following year. Though M13 is visible to the unaided eye, the fact that it was not a single star was apparently not recognized until noticed by Halley. Halley himself first noted that the cluster shows itself to be naked eye when the sky is somewhat serene and the moon is absent. Messier himself thought that M13 was a nebula with a bright center, as his small telescope could not resolve it into stars. If we lived inside M13, the appearance of the heavens would be much different than we see now. It'd be a spectacle of incomprehensible, spectacular. Well, the heavens would be filled with uncountable number of blazing stars, which would dwarf our own Sirius and Canopus in insignificance. Many thousands of stars ranging in brilliance between Venus and the full moon, yes, as bright as the full moon, would be continually visible, so there would never be really any nighttime on a planet in a globular cluster, since it would never get dark. Wow. That'd be interesting to visit, wouldn't it? Slide master, slide number 15, please. Number 92 on Charles Messier's list of M objects is also another globular cluster in the constellation of Hercules. Messier object that Robert Burton Jr. notes that M92 is a beautiful, rich globular cluster, which in most any other constellations would be considered a major show object, But in Hercules, it's somewhat overshadowed by the spectacular, famous M13. M92, like M13, is easily visible in binoculars or a finder scope. The eagle eye Stephen James O'Meara, in his book The Messier Optics, notes that he can see M92 without optical aid. Now, he's probably the only person on the entire planet that's ever done that. And one night, he said he discovered that the two Hercules globular clusters can be seen simultaneously with the unaided eye. That's what he stated. M92 is noticeably smaller than M13. Look at it in your telescope without changing eyepieces and slew over to the other, and you'll see the size difference. M92 is a bright, dense core and appears oval-shaped, slightly elongated north to south. And this is KF5 JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 16, please. I've just given you a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 77 different observing programs, most of which have about 100 objects. So, if you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen from the Astronomical League in about a year. And slide number 17, that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Hercules the Strongman. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for their research and words on deep sky objects that I've used, borrowed, and steal for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now next time I'll take a look at Serpent, the snake. It's a very unique constellation. It has something that no other constellation does. It's separated into two pieces. And this is KF5 JHA sending it back to our net control. Brenda, it's yours. 73, everyone.
Thank you, Chad. This is 7D50ZL. Do we have any more check-ins at this time? Alright, it's time for space launches this week, and I'm going to turn the net over to Tom, KE5ICX.
Hi Brenda, this is KE5ICX, and let's see, the space launches for this week come from spaceflightnow.com/launch schedule. So let's go ahead and get started with the 9 million Falcon 9 launches we've got. July 9th, Starlink 6-5 will launch from SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. That will launch another batch of second generation Starlink V2 mini internet satellite. Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. On July 14th, we have an Electron launch. This is from Launch Complex 1 in Mahia Peninsula in New Zealand. The Rocket Lab Electron rocket will launch NASA's Starlink mission, which consists of 4 CubeSats to demonstrate technologies for future swarm satellites. It also carries Telesat Leo 3 demonstration satellite for spaceflight Labrador and 2 3U satellites for Spire Global, carrying global navigation satellite system radio occultation, or GNOS-RO, payloads, which provide data to improve weather models and forecasts. The first stage of the Electron rocket will be recovered after it splashes down in the ocean. Next up is Falcon Heavy launch that we have from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center. The SpaceX Falcon Heavy launch will launch the Jupiter 3 EchoStar 24 broadband communications satellite. That will be July 23rd, 24th. Built by Maxtor, Jupiter 3 EchoStar 24 is a Ka-band, high-throughput, ultra-high density satellite for EchoStar's Fuse network system. Jupiter 3 EchoStar 24 will support in-flight Wi-Fi, maritime communication connections, enterprise networks, backhaul for mobile network operators, and community Wi-Fi solutions across the Americas. Next up is O3B Power 5 and 6. They launched from SLC 40, Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Falcon 9 rocket will launch the third pair of O3B Power broadband internet satellites into medium Earth orbit for SES Luxembourg. The satellites built by Boeing will provide internet services over most of the populated world, building on SES's O3B network. The Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. Next up, we have to be determined. World View Legion 1 and 2 will launch from SLC-4E at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. This will be a Falcon 9 rocket, the first pair of the World View Legion Earth observation satellites from Maxim Technologies. They plan to deploy 6 commercial World View Legion high-resolution remote sensing satellites into a mix of sun-synchronous and mid-inclination orbit on 3 SpaceX Falcon 9 rockets. First stage, the Falcon 9 will return to the landing zone 4 at Vandenberg Space Force Base for landing. Next up, another Falcon 9, this one 9 launch, SDA Trachea 0B. This is launch 18 Trachea 0 demonstration satellites through the U.S. Military Space Development Agency. The launch is the second of 2 Falcon 9 missions to carry SDA demonstration spacecraft for a future constellation of military missile tracking and data relay satellites. Falcon 9's first stage booster will return to landing zone 4 at Vandenberg. Next up is the Ares NG-19 that will launch between August 1st and 2nd from Wallops Island in Virginia. The Northrop Grumman Antares rocket will launch the 20th Cygnus cargo freighter on the 19th operational cargo delivery flight to the International Space Station. The mission is known as NG-19 and will fly in the Antares 230 Plus configuration. That's with 2 RD-181 first stage engines and a Castor 30 XL second stage. This will be the final flight of the Antares 230 Plus rocket before redesigned with the new U.S.-made engine. Next up, to be determined, the launch of the Enroll 107 from Cape Canaveral on SLC 41. The United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket will launch the Enroll 107 mission for the National Reconnaissance Office. The Enroll 107 mission will launch a classified payload known as the Silent Barker. The mission is a partnership between NRO and U.S. Space Force and will be disclosed, which have disclosed little information about the payload other than it will focus on satellite threat intelligence and space situational awareness. All right, let me give you one more and then I'll turn it back to you, Brenda. In August, another Falcon 9 launch, Galaxy 37, this from SLC 40, Cape Canaveral, Florida. The Galaxy 37 C-band television broadcasting satellite for Intelsat will launch. The spacecraft is built by Maxter. The Falcon 9 will be the first stage booster, will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. And that's it from me, Brenda. I'm going to send it back to you. This is KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. Next up is recent astronomical discoveries. All right, this article is from ScienceDaily.com. The title is Why the Earth is 24 Hours Long. Astrophysicists reveal why Earth's day was a constant 19.5 hours for over a billion years. Results shed new light on how climate tools. A team of astrophysicists from the University of Toronto, U of T, has revealed how the slow and steady lengthening of Earth's day caused by the tidal pull of the moon was halted for over a billion years. They show that from approximately 2 billion years ago, until 600 million years ago, an atmospheric tide driven by the sun countered the effect of the moon, keeping Earth's rotational rate steady and the length of the day at a constant 19.5 hours. Without this billion-year pause in the slowing of our planet's rotation, our current 24-hour day would stretch to over 60 hours. To study describing the result, why the day is 24 hours long, the history of Earth's atmosphere, thermal tide, composition, and mean temperature, is published today in the journal Science Advances. Drawing on geological evidence and using atmospheric research tools, the scientists show that the tidal stalemate between the sun and moon resulted from the incidental but enormously consequential link between the atmosphere, temperature, and Earth's rotational rate. The paper's authors, and I won't read all those names, for the moon first formed some 4.5 billion years ago, the day was less than 10 hours long. But since then, the moon's gravitational pull on the Earth has been slowing our planet's rotation, resulting in an increasingly longer day. Today, it continues to lengthen at the rate of some 1.7 milliseconds every century. The moon slows the planet's rotation by pulling on the Earth's oceans, creating tidal bulges on opposite sides of the planet that we experience as high and low tides. The gravitational pull of the moon on these bulges, plus the friction between the tides and the ocean floor, acts as a brake on our spinning planet. Sunlight also produces an atmospheric tide with the same type of bulges, says Murray. The sun's gravity pulls on these atmospheric bulges, producing a torque on the Earth. But instead of slowing down Earth's rotation like the moon, it speeds it up. For most of Earth's geological history, the lunar tides have overpowered the solar tides by about a factor of 10. Hence, the Earth's slowing rotational speed and lengthening days. But some 2 billion years ago, the atmospheric bulges were larger because the atmosphere was warmer and because its natural resonance, the frequency at which waves move through it, matched the length of day. The atmosphere, like a bell, resonates at a frequency determined by various factors, including temperature. In other words, waves, like those generated by the enormous eruption of the volcano Krakatoa in Indonesia in 1883, travel through it at a velocity determined by its temperature. The same principle explains why a bell always produces the same note if its temperature is constant. Throughout most of Earth's history, the atmospheric resonance has been out of sync with the work of the planet's rotational rate. Today, each of the two atmospheric high tides take 22.8 hours to travel around the world. Because that resonance and Earth's 24-hour rational period are out of sync, the atmospheric tide is relatively small. But during the billion-year period under study, the atmosphere was warmer and resonated for a period of about 10 hours. Also, at the advent of that epoch, Earth's rotation, followed by the moon, reached 20 hours. When the atmospheric resonance and length of day became even factors, 10 and 20, the atmospheric tide was reinforced, the bulges became larger, and the sun's tidal pull became strong enough to counter the lunar tide. It's like pushing a child on a swing, says Murray. If you are pushed and the period of the swing are out of sync, it's not going to go very high. But if they're in sync and you're pushing just as the swing stops at the end of its travel, the push will add to the momentum of the swing and it will go further and higher. It's what happened with the atmospheric resonance and tide. Along with geological evidence, Murray and his colleagues achieved their results using global atmospheric circulation models. Predict the atmospheric temperature during this period. CMDs are the same models used by climatologists to study global warming. According to Murray, the fact they work so well in the team's research is a timely lesson. I've talked to people who are climate change skeptics who don't believe in the global circulation models. They're telling us we're in a climate crisis, says Murray. And I tell them to use these global circulation models in our research, and they got it right. They work. Despite its remoteness in geological history, the result adds additional perspective to the climate crisis. Because the atmospheric resonance changes with temperature, Murray points out that our current warming atmosphere could have consequences in this tidal imbalance. As we increase Earth's temperature with global warming, we're also making the resonance frequency move higher. We're moving our atmosphere further away from resonance. As a result, there's less torque from the sun, and therefore the length of day is going to get longer sooner than it would otherwise. Okay, do we have any more check-ins? Alright, next up we're going to have visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. KE5 ICX is going to give this report. Stand by.
All right, thank you, Brenda. This is KE5 ICX again. And here I am. Let's see here. We have International Space Station. What do we have? Let's see. A number of good passes. Got July 11th has a minus 2.8 magnitude at 5:38 a.m. to reach its highest point out of the northwest, reach at 51 degrees at 5:41, and then it will fall to 5:44 to the east-southeast. A second pass, 90 minutes later, is, in the evening, sorry about that, minus 2.4 magnitude, 2217, out of the west-southwest, reaches highest point of 40 degrees at 2221, and it will fall to the north-northeast at 2224. And we have July 12th. There's two really good passes on that date, but I'm going to give you the best one, which is minus 3.7 magnitude at 2129. Out of the southwest, it'll reach its highest point at 80 degrees at 2132. It'll fall to the northeast at 2136. Then July 14th has a good pass, minus 3.9 magnitude at 4:50 a.m. to reach its highest point at 453 at 84 degrees to the southwest, and it'll fall to the southeast at 457. Hubble Space Telescope has one pass that's pretty good. That's on July 9th. That one will be a 1.5 magnitude at 2100 local time. Out of the west-southwest, it'll reach its highest point at 2104 at 38 degrees south, and it'll fall to the east-southeast at 2107. NVSAT, our old reliable defunct weather satellite, July 9th has a good pass at 5:02 in the morning. Out of the north-northeast, it reaches its highest point at 68 degrees. Out of the east-southeast, and falls to the south at 5:12. July 11th has a good pass. That one will be 3.0 magnitude at 5:27. It'll reach its highest point at 5:32 at 66 degrees, and it'll fall to the south-southwest at 5:37. Then we have, July 12th, 3.7 magnitude at 4:50 a.m. It'll reach its highest point at 4:54 in the east, and it'll fall to the south at 4:59. And then, July 13th, 3.7 magnitude. Get the right one here. Yep, 5:52 a.m. Reach its highest point at 5:56 at 36 degrees. It'll fall to the southwest at 6:01, 10 degrees. And then July 14th, probably the best pass of them all, 3.0 magnitude, 5:14 a.m. out of the north-northeast. Reach its highest point directly overhead at 88 degrees at 5:19. And it'll fall to the west-northwest, or the south-southwest, I should say, at 5:24:42. That's it, Brenda. That's what I got. Back to you. This is KE5ICX.
Tom. Well, looks like we're about ready for the end here. Are there any more check-ins? We're going to wrap it up a little bit early. It's not our last net. At 10:30, we have our movie net, which we call Afterglow. And movie tonight is Apollo 18. I never knew there was an Apollo 18. I was really surprised. I thought they stopped at 17. But, you know, you learn something every day. All right, tonight we had 19 hands participating on the air. Thanks to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We always look forward for net control stations for this and all other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact Internet Net Control by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussions about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful Internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. My name is Brenda, and I'll be closing the net at 10:15 p.m. local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 73, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe.
KI5JUT Mobile Radio Check.
KI5KET, I believe that was. This is KI5KWG. Radio sound fine.
Thank you, sir, for the feedback. Kilo India 5, Juliet Uniform Papa 73.
normal state.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
All right, it's now time for the Afterglow Movie Net. This is KE5ICX. Yeah, you heard me all evening long, except for poor Brenda that had to do most of the net by herself tonight. But she did a good job, as I think we'll all agree. So now it's time to talk about tonight's film. This film is called Apollo 18. Apollo 18, yes, that mission that you rarely hear about. It was a 2011 American-Canadian science fiction horror film written by Ryan Miller, whoever that is. It starred a few people nobody knows. Co-production with Canadians. The premise is that a canceled Apollo 18 mission actually landed on the moon in December of 1974, but never returned. As a result, the United States never launched another expedition to the moon. The film was shot in found footage style, supposedly lost footage of the Apollo 18 mission that was only recently discovered. Apollo 18 is Lopez Gallego first English-language film. After various release dates and changes, the film was released in the United States, the United Kingdom, and Canada on September 2nd, 2011. However, release dates in other countries and territories vary. The film received mostly negative reviews. How could that be? We only watched the best. With most critics comparing it negatively to Paranormal Activity, The Blair Witch Project, and Aliens. Oh, what happens is this. Thank you, Brenda. Brenda brought me something to drink. She's here with me because she doesn't have a radio, so I let her come over here, and for just $10, she's allowed to talk on my radio. I thought it was a good deal, a bargain. Usually I charge $20. So here we go. I'm going to, what this is about is we talk about a movie that's been assigned the week before. Unfortunately, the movie that I had assigned was wrenched out of circulation and streaming, so I had to go with the B-list. Apollo 18 was it. The original film was Oblivion with Tom Cruise, but it's no longer available. So our movie tonight is Apollo 18. So here's, let me look here and see how long this thing goes. It's not too bad. Here we go. This is the plot. December 74, 2 years after Apollo 17 mission. The crew of the canceled Apollo 18 mission is informed that it will proceed on a top-secret Department of Defense or DoD mission to deliver a classified payload. Commander Nathan Walker, Lieutenant Colonel John Gray, and Captain Ben Anderson are launched at night toward the moon to place an early warning detector for ICBM attacks from the Russians. Gray remains in orbit aboard the Apollo Command Module Freedom, while Walker and Anderson land on the south pole of the moon in the Apollo Lunar Module Liberty on December 25th. While planning the ICBM detector, the pair take rock samples, which Anderson describes as feeling strange. In the background, the camera captures a rock moving in a nearby crater. After returning to Liberty, the pair hear noises outside, and motion sensor camera captures a small rock moving nearby. Houston claims the noises are interference from the ICBM detector. The next day, Anderson finds a rock sample on the floor of Liberty despite having secured the sample. During their ICBM detector setup, Anderson discovers footprints that lead them to a blood-stained and abandoned but still functional Soviet LK lander. Anderson explores the nearby crater, describing the ground as feeling softer. Inside the crater, he finds a dead cosmonaut as well as a broken space helmet. Walker queries NASA how about the Soviet presence, but he is told only to continue with the mission. While they're sleeping, Walker is woken by strange noises and something bumping into the lander. The following day, the pair find that the flag has been planted is missing. Having completed their mission, the duo prepares to leave, but the launch is thwarted when Liberty suffers violent shaking. Inspection reveals extensive damage to the module. Walker finds there's shredded flags nearby. Motion sensor camera is also missing, and the rover tipped on its side. He then finds non-human tracks outside Liberty and cites them as evidence of extraterrestrial life. Walker feels something moving inside the spacesuit and is horrified as a spider-like creature crawls across the inside of his helmet. He disappears from view, and Anderson finds him unconscious outside Liberty. Walker later denies the events. The wound is discovered in his chest, and Anderson removes a moon rock embedded within him. After having removed the rock, Walker smashes it with a hammer, contaminating the ship. The pair find themselves unable to contact Houston or Gray due to increased levels of interference from an unknown source. This is KE5 ICX. Anderson speculates the truth of possible purposes of the ICBM warning devices to monitor the aliens as a source of interference. Anderson and Walker attempt to switch the device off, only to discover it is destroyed with the same non-human tracks surrounding it. Walker shows signs of a developing infection, such as faint discoloration, possibly caused by necrosis, and bloodshot eyes. He becomes contentious and paranoid. The mission cameras capture the rock sample moving around the interior of Liberty, revealing the aliens are camouflaged as moon rocks. Increasingly delusional, Walker attempts to destroy the cameras within Liberty with a hammer, but he accidentally damages other controls, causing Liberty to depressurize in the shape of Air Force One. Realizing that Soviet LK lander is their only source of oxygen, the pair travels to the LK lander in their lunar rover. Walker becomes agitated, believing he should not leave the moon because the risk of spreading the infection to Earth causes the rover to crash. As the rover crashes, the camera catches glimpses of the large space rocks, which begin to grow legs similar to spiders. Anderson awakens and tracks Walker to the crater. Walker is pulled into the crater by the creatures. Anderson keeps chase, but he is confronted by the aliens and flees to the Soviet LK and uses his radio to contact USSR Mission Control, who connects him to the Department of Defense. The Deputy Secretary informs Anderson they cannot allow him to return to Earth, stating they are aware of the situation and correctly believe he is also infected. Anderson manages to contact Gray, and they make arrangements for Anderson to return to freedom. Anderson prepares the lander for launch, but Walker arrives, revealing that he survived the alien encounter and demands to be let in. However, he is now completely psychotic, and when Anderson refuses to let him in, he tries to break the lander's window with a hammer. Before Walker can enter the vehicle, he is swarmed with rock aliens, which break his helmet open and kill him. His body is dragged away by a much larger alien rock. Anderson launches, but the DOD tells Gray that Anderson is infected. In order to thwart the rescue or ground communication without the CSM, will be unable to return to Earth and will be cut off. The lander's engine shut off as it enters orbit. While it is in free fall, small rocks within the craft float in the air, some of which reveal themselves to be rock aliens. Anderson is attacked and infected by the rock aliens, preventing him from controlling the vehicle. Gray warns Anderson that he's approaching too fast, and the footage ends abruptly, implying that the LK and Freedom collided. The film concludes with a statement giving the official fate of the astronauts, describing them as having been killed in various jet accidents that left their bodies unrecoverable. Epilogue notes that many of the hundreds of rock samples returned from the previous moon missions given to dignitaries are now missing. The end. Now, many of you have probably already turned your radios off. If you have, turn them back on, because now we're going to discuss things. Think about that one for a little bit. I know I did, but not for very long. So this is what I'll do. I'll take check-in from you people out there. Well, everybody's out there. especially our astronauts. They're way out there, except for Brenda. She's sitting next to me. So we'll go ahead and start with check-ins. I will ask for your call sign, your name, and did you see Apollo 18 from 2012? If you didn't, that's okay. We'll still talk to you because we'll ask you about, I don't know, some random Apollo mission. Probably Apollo 19. That sounds like a good one. We'll go ahead and get started. I'll take check-ins. Please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see Apollo 18? Let us begin. Check-in.
November, Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth. I sort of saw this movie. I didn't make it all the way through.
Okay, we picked up one. That'd be Virginia, NV5F. I have you as having seen most of the movie, but not all. I've got Brenda. She's sitting here. She says, check me in, check me out. Okay, WV5OZL, you are checked in. Brenda, you're in Louisville, just to let you know that, and you did see the film, even though you claim you did not want to see it, but you're there. You saw it, yes. Anyone else would like to check in, please come now.
In Fort Worth? Yes, I've seen this film.
Kilo India 5, Juliet Charlie Mike, Thomas Mullis. Yes, I saw it a long time ago and remembered why I didn't see it again.
Kilo India 5, Kilo Whiskey Golf. Cruise in Arlington. Yes, I saw Brenda's favorite movie.
All right, picked up three more. I got KB9SOK, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, he saw the film. KI5JCM, Thomas in Euless. He saw the film a long time ago, but now he's eager to talk about it with other people. Was that emotionally draining on you, huh? Okay. KI5KWG, that's Cruz in Arlington. Yes, he saw the film. Anyone else like to check in? Tonight's movie, Apollo 18 from 2012. Brenda thinks we should do an encounter group. We all sit around in a circle and talk about these films. Well, we do that anyway. We're just in an electronic circle with antennas. Okay, well, yeah, that's true. You have to say how many years you've been watching bad science fiction films and why you went back to start watching them again when you were told to stay away. Yeah, the 12-step program. Okay. I'm going to take these in the order that I received your call sign. So I'm going to start with, actually, Brenda, WB5OZL. Brenda, please tell us what you thought about the plot for our fine movie, Apollo 18. Gotta press the push to talk, Brenda.
This newfangled stuff is beyond me. This is WB5OZL. I can't wait for the sequel when all the rocks on Earth come to life and start infecting people, and then they propagate. Pretty soon, that's the dominant life form on Earth. I don't know why they made this movie. I really don't, except they had a lot of free footage and the artists, props and things that they could use. The no-name actors couldn't cost them very much, and just baffled at it. It was derivative. It was like too many other movies. It wasn't, the writing wasn't bad, but just the premise is so unbelievable that, first of all, it's like the Russians went up there and they died and we don't know what happened to them. Well, let's just send some Americans up there to die and not know what happened to them. They're no better off now than they were, and they've wasted millions and millions of dollars on a secret mission. So, and they still don't know what happened up there. So now, can we ever go back to the moon? I wouldn't. At this point, I would quarantine it. It'd be totally off limits. And I'm sorry? Like California, yes. I'm not believing this life form anyway. It's a creature. It has to metabolize. What is it eating? What is it breathing? And how does it switch from being a rock to some kind of a spider? They never explain that, and I found it a little bit unbelievable. All right, back to net, WE50ZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. I'm trying to figure out why there's closed captioning is popping weird things on the screen. At any rate, it is. It is. Okay, thank you, Brenda. That's very interesting. Next up is NV5F Virginia. You saw part of the film and then you turned it off, and I think you kicked your television set or something. But please tell us what you thought of our fine film for this week. Don't hold back now. Here from KE5IC.
Hello, this is Virginia, NV5F. Yeah, I was sitting down to watch the movie last night, and I was like, oh, Apollo 18, some whimsical thing about what the 18th Apollo mission might have been like, and I was looking forward to a space movie. I did not read anything on it before I watched it, so once it was apparent that it was a horror movie, I was a little bit leery to stick around. I just don't like horror movies. But then when it became obvious, and I waited till way too late to bail on this thing. I'm a glutton for punishment. I try to give something the benefit of the doubt. Or maybe all the jokes about mantises were funny. I don't know. I stuck around, and I really only ditched about 5 or 10 minutes before it was over. When it was obvious to me that everything was hopeless and no one was going to live, I was just like, oh, forget this. I'm not watching the rest. So when you read the plot, there wasn't a whole lot of that I didn't see. So the plot, the idea of, hey, what if there were an 18th Apollo mission is kind of intriguing, and I think the idea of going up there and on a secret mission to investigate something that they thought was going on with the Russians, and then finding Russians there, evidence that they've been there, I think that's kind of an interesting idea. But then when I realized it was a stupid Blair Witch kind of a thing, I was like, oh God. And in these plots, there's always a problem with comms. Like, the comms always go down, and it's always that they hear this weird echoey noise on the radio, and it's always the same in all these movies, the scratchy, echoey sound, that totally breaks the, especially in this case, it completely breaks the illusion of it being made from era footage, because some of the sound effects are so, they're so like trite 21st century scary aliens on the radio sounds. And so they did that, and when they did that, I was like, oh my God. And then when they ripped off aliens because the thing was somehow lodged in his body, that was so aliens. And it's all the same. Oh, stranded in space, and the government are all jerks, and they're just trying to hide something and sacrifice human lives to find out what's going on. And my question about the whole plot is, if this is made from found footage, how did they find? I mean, did the CSM somehow get back to Earth without anybody flying it after it crashed into the LK module, and how did it get back to Earth? The movie even got made if it was supposed to be a fakementary made out of found footage, you know, because they did have the whole thing of the guy like grabbing all the film before they left the limb, you know, so that covers that bit of the plot. But then how did the footage get back, and why would anybody want to make a documentary out of it, you know, if it's, you know, 60 years later and rock people have, you know, taken over the Earth, rock spider mantis things. So the plot there, and it's funny, at the beginning I was actually hanging on a little bit. I was like, oh, this could be kind of interesting, and then it turned into, you know, a ripoff of Aliens and a bunch of other things from the 90s and early 2000s, and I was just like, oh, this is dumb. You know, NASA, anything to do with NASA is supposed to be fun, maybe a little bit suspenseful, like Apollo 13, but you know, if they make Apollo 19, I definitely won't be in the audience for that. So just too scary, too derivative, too unbelievable. Like Brenda said, what are these creatures? How are they living on the moon? You know, why do they hate flags? Why are they tearing down flags? Do they care about whose flag? I mean, really? They're anti-American, and the Soviet flag had been torn down too. So, you know, they just hate flags. I don't know. It was dumb. It was just like, it didn't make any sense. Just an excuse to make something stupid and scary. So anyway, my rant is over. KE5. In the net, NV5F.
All right, I'm trying to keep from laughing even more. I think you've used the word stupid in a sentence more times than I've ever heard on this net. Congratulations. You hold the record for the most times the word stupid was used in a sentence. Okay, yes, I think there was a new game they played. It was called Rock, Paper, Spiders. Just saying. Okay, next up is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, how stupid is stupid? You go ahead and tell us from KE5ITX.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, Virginia pretty well took the words right out of my mouth. I had the exact same sentiments about this movie and had a lot of the same points. Oh, yeah, this thing was stupid on a level of 11. This is definitely up for one of our worst movies of the year by far. Well, just like Virginia, I actually was looking forward to seeing this when I saw it was on the list. I thought, oh, this would be cool. You know, a secret Apollo mission. And I had the same thoughts. I thought, okay, they'll go up there. Yeah, maybe we'll find the Russians, and you know, there'd be some kind of thing with that. It'd be interesting. Or even if they just went up there and found the aliens and had an actual intelligent interaction with the life forms on the moon. There's a lot of good things they could have actually done with this, but instead, yeah, they made a really cheap, stupid horror film. You know, and I'm not a big fan of horror films either, but I do like some of the, you know, there have been ones I have enjoyed. Well, like the original Aliens that they stole it from. That was a way better film. And it was, you know, it was the OG. So it was the first time seeing that kind of film. So, yeah, this film was just bad. It was not good at all. Yeah, I had the same questions about, like, how does a rock turn into a spider? What does it eat? What's it breathe? You know, how did it magically get inside the guy's suit when he was out there? I mean, the suits are sealed. You know, how does it get into your suit and not cut a hole through it? Therefore, you'd lose all your oxygen and die instantly. You know, that made zero sense. You know, the early on parts where the rock was bouncing around the cabin, shaking the cabin, and they weren't even noticing. You know, they were just worried about the weird screeching sounds. Like, if something's shaking the thing you're living in, I would think that would be a much bigger concern. So, yeah, that was just crazy. It made no sense at all. And how these little tiny rock creatures flip over the rover, and yeah, I don't know. This was just bad. And then supposedly the wiring had all been ripped out of the Russian ship, so how did he even fly it? You know? And yeah, they came in the comment. It was very similar to our ship. But once again, did they both know how to read Russian? You know, where the button thing is exactly in the same place? You know, how do you fly a ship that you can't read the panel? You know? So it just, there were just so many bad decisions made in this film. And it's such a shame, because it could have been, you know, something way better. You know, I mean, they had a few tiny aspects and somewhat got the feel of, you know, living in those ships and maybe somewhat what it was like, but that was where pretty much the realism ended. The other big problem I have with this film is just painfully slow for the first 3/4 of the movie. It just seemed like it drug on and on and on, you know, and I was so tempted to put the thing at 2 times speed, but I did want to hear what they had to say, but it was just so slow and just, wow, it was just horrible pacing, which didn't help matters much. Usually a lot of times either of these movies, you know, are like fast, slow when it comes to horror films, you know, but this thing was just slow all the way through. It was just, yeah, it was painful. I don't blame anybody for shutting this thing off. So yeah, I agree, the sounds were annoying. Well, I guess really third round's more about how it was filmed, but it definitely had that Blair Witch kind of feel to it, which I absolutely hate. So, yeah, this was definitely on stupid level 11. So, anyway, I'll send it back because I'm not really saying much news back to that. KB9, that's okay.
All right, thank you, Sean. I think you hit all of the positive aspects of the film. Let's move on to Thomas, KI5JCM. Thomas, it's been a long time since you've seen this film. Did it bring back fond memories of science fiction horror films or something else from KI5ICM?
KI5JCM here. Well, the first time I saw this film, I thought it was rather silly, derivative, and not that imaginative. But since the first time I watched this film, I've become a space geek, and I'm a history nerd, and yeah, there was an Apollo 18. It's called Apollo Soyuz. We did it in '79. They had to create a custom adapter so that the Apollo could dock with a service module of the Russians, and oh yeah, a fellow ham named Noel happens to be one of the flight surgeons on that mission. So, I mean, medical director on that mission. The other thing I know is that the Russians didn't have where was the Russian command module? And the other issue was there's no docking port on the Russian-designed lander because they had to actually go outside, climb stairs, and climb into it. The Russians weren't nearly as concerned with safety as we are. So knowing that, it just kind of makes me a touch bitter going, there's a much better movie that could have been made about the late Apollo stages. I mean, it's just, yeah. I also wanted to know how the rock thing mysteriously got inside, what they have against flags, what happened to the rest of the Russians, was there no log, and also, if they have no missions in space, why the heck is the USSR monitoring that frequency? We all know how wide bandwidth is, it's just dumb. And then at the end, the line up, that's extremely stupid. Just, it's one of those films that the more I learn, the dumber it gets. And this just brought back the same feeling of this is stupid, reinforced by some new knowledge I've gained of, okay, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. It's like when I saw Pearl Harbor and they have the last guy, hang on, let me reset. The movie Pearl Harbor has a bunch of guys drowning as they pry open the bottom of the ship of the USS Oklahoma. Small problem. I happen to know who one of those hands in real life belongs to. His name was Garland Eslick. He survived. I interviewed him in 2004. You know, and ever since then I've hated that movie. It's just, yeah, you know. Again, how is the Russian module going to dock with the American module? How exactly were they going to make that work? Was there going to be a spacewalk? Was there... It's one of those ones, the more questions you ask, the more dumb it seems and the angrier you get for wasting time on it. I actually paid money to see this thing back in the day. This time I just read the Wikipedia description. to remind me, and yeah, it reminded me of how dumb this was, and the memories and the trauma came flooding back. That's all I got to say. KI-5 JCM, back to net control.
All right, thank you, Thomas. So we're taking, and with stupid, we're adding as one of the expletives when it comes to this film. Okay, very good. Next up is Cruz, KI-5KWG. Now, Cruz, I know you always have something super positive to say about films. Since you've seen this one, what great news do you have for us, this fine film about lunar exploration and rocks from KE5I6?
KI-5KWG. Okay. I'll start with something positive here. My very first note I wrote, fun premise. And then I added the words, went nowhere good. Yeah, let's see. I don't want to try to challenge Virginia's well-earned title for this stupid film. But let me run through my little list here. All right, I got silly. A command module pilot could not see the limb landing. Next one, repeating the Apollo 11-1201 alarm sequence was a dead giveaway that the writers, producer, director, whatever, did not understand what was going on with that. It's not part of the landing. It was a mistake in the switch settings. Anyway, next one. Radio signals coming down from the moon are going to be detected after a Saturn V launch with a command module, with a crew capsule, with an escape tower. People are going to know people are on that rocket, and they're going to be monitoring the radio. So this isn't going to be a secret. Let's see, that one's for the next section. Oh, everybody's mentioned it, but I had the biologically absurd written down as well. How do these creatures, who apparently need warm human bodies to spawn, how did they exist, and what did they eat? Do rock creatures eat rocks? And you would think we might see that somewhere if that particular metabolism was possible to exist. And we don't. Okay, I think I'm out of comments about how stupid it was. I'll tell you, though, this kind of inspired by Thomas's comment. DARC, hams, we are one really manned space flight in particular, savvy group. There are so many who know this stuff. And what were they thinking with Apollo 18? That people wouldn't know this stuff. And I timed out. Sorry about that. And I'm done anyway. I could rant, but I won't. KI-5 KWG, back to net.
Very good. Well, thank you, Cruz. Yes, we are very man-space savvy. By the way, for anybody who's watching this video, I don't think there's anybody there left anymore. Is there? Let me look. Well, no, there's nobody left. But you're going to miss it. You have to see it on the video. Look, I have an SCE to aux switch that Brenda gave me for my birthday. SCE to aux, everyone. It's in the middle position. On this one, I think I'm just going to leave it in the middle position because this rocket needs to go away. So, anyway, anyone else want to check in? Please come now with your call sign, your name, and did you see Apollo 18 from 20, actually? Please come now.
Whiskey 5, bacon, lettuce, tomato, W5BLT, Bill, Garland, and unfortunately I saw 30 minutes of this movie. Only 30 minutes.
All right, well, Bill, and many people would say that's 60 minutes too much, but you got 30 minutes in, that's fine. Tell us everything you think about this film. You can use any sort of adjectives that you feel that are appropriate to describe this film. So go ahead, Bill, from KE5I2.
Oh, train wreck, horrible. Waste of a good plot come to mind. You know, I got sidetracked because NASCAR was coming on, and somehow watching cars go around in a circle seems like a better time spent. And then, you know, my family, we watched Adam 12, and I just never tried to get back to the movie. You know, it did kind of, and I didn't like this movie either, and that may be upsetting to some here, but I didn't like the Blair Witch Project either, and it seemed like that was what it was doing, and I had a hard time following it at the beginning with the rocks and you know, just things like that, and then I kind of saw where that was headed. Yeah, it was something. I thought they had a good idea. It could have been so much more, but it just failed miserably. So anyway, and you know, I was just thinking about the movies that we have seen that have been pretty bad, and yes, I didn't get to the end of this, so maybe I can't say this, but I think this has got to be up there with not maybe in the top 3, at least since I've joined the W5BLT. Back to net control.
Are actually worse films that we've seen. One of which was only a month ago, called Jetstream. That film is almost unwatchable. It makes this thing look like an Academy Award. And let us never forget, even though we would like to, The Creeping Terror, with alien rugs eating scantily clad women that have to force themselves inside the rugs. No. This film is head and shoulders better than that, even with rocks that look like crabs. Okay. Well, let me give you my comments. I don't know what I can add to anyone else's comments about all of this. But yeah, the whole idea and the premise is pretty much unbelievable. How do you launch a mission that everybody on Earth could see? Well, you launch it at night and you turn the lights off. Nobody will see the rocket going to orbit, right? Yeah, of course not. How do you do that? You know, the same thing happened in, what was that stupid movie with the one with James Brolin in it? Can't remember. Brenda's not helping. But where they conceal the whole thing, the spacecraft has flaws in it and disintegrate at Capricorn 1. That's the one. Where at the Saturn V launches with no crew, and now they got to kill the crew because the spaceship's disintegrated. How is anybody going to not notice all this stuff happening, right? You know, the helicopters leaving for other places, people not notice. It's like building a secret lair for James Bond, right? Where does the supervillain get all this money and then get all the workers, all the heavy equipment to build the underwater city that nobody knows about? Well, this is the same thing. You're launching a 32-story rocket, and look over there, while the thing is going to orbit. Right. We all know that that's highly unlikely. Although there are some pretty stupid people that live in Florida, but probably not all of them, and not all of them live right next to the Cape. let's see, what else? Well, I've got things to say about special effects, which are actually positive, and I won't do that until a little bit later. I don't really have anything else to add. I think Virginia took the cake. That was one of the funny comments of ranting I've ever heard about one of our movies. That was just great. All right, we'll start at the top. This one will probably go quickly because we have characterization, of which there was none. So we should zip down the list on this one. We'll start with Brenda, WB50ZL. Brenda, your thoughts about the cast and characters for Apollo 18.
This is WB50ZL. Well, I will say that the actors did kind of look like they could be astronauts. They were cute and manly and, had that astronaut look about them, sort of. Except astronauts usually joke around a lot, have a lot of personality, pull pranks. In movies, they often give astronauts very dry personalities, which we know is not true. That's the case. Other than that, they were just kind of, nothing to distinguish these people. They're just, kind of there, and, they did their job, and there's not a whole lot to say about their personalities. And there's probably a reason there weren't any big names in this movie. Not that any that I could see. I'm sure they were all embarrassed later on to have their name attached to it. But it's a paycheck. But they were in many ways believable. It's like, no, we're not leaving anybody behind. That would be a military person's MO. Everybody goes home. We're going to save you, whatever it takes. And of course, the U.S. government is the bad guy. They don't care anything about human beings and must sacrifice them for whatever reason. I don't think that's ever happened before. Tell me if I'm wrong about that. All right, back to that. WB50ZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. I had to ask her what she just said because my mind was wandering about Goodwill Rocks and where they could be acting as fighters. Sometimes my mind wanders, especially when there's a long dissertation about something factual. Now I'm getting these looks. But it's fine. That's fine. Let's see. Let's move on to Virginia. NP5F. Virginia, what do you have to say about our actors and our characters from KP5IC?
Okay, well, first of all, I think the actors were fine. They, a lot of times if actors can only be as good as their script or their directors, I thought they were fine. I thought there was at least an attempt here to make them seem like people. They did the behind-the-scenes kind of 70s style footage with the home movies, and that I guess the rock people who took over Earth edited those movies together so lovingly as they did. I think they did try to give it that Apollo 13 feel, like, oh, let's show that these, I think they tried. I think they tried to go, oh, these guys have personality. They're astronauts. They love to go into space, but they can't have as much fun because they're on this secret mission that nobody knows about, and their families can't even know about it. So that kind of sucks the fun out of it. So I think that kind of played into their more somber tone, than you maybe see, which begs the question: why don't they just make the Apollo 12 episode of from the Earth to the Moon. Why don't they make that into a movie? Because I watched that one over and over again because that one's hilarious. Whenever I want to laugh really hard, I put that one on. And whenever I want to cry, I watch Spider because that one always makes me cry. Anyways, yeah, I think they tried, and they had a scary. They had to go through the scary situation, and I think they did pretty good at playing like they were scared. And they tried to make it like the. I guess it was the mission. I guess it was the LMP, the guy who was kind of left. They tried to show him how he missed his family, and how he was trying to save the whole mission and wouldn't bow to the wishes of the DoD. He went and got in the Soviet spacecraft, and I think there was an attempt here to make these people likable and lovable, and maybe that's why I didn't like the movie, because I don't like horror movies, because if the characters are people you like, and then there's just some stupid, evil creature eating them, who cares? It's kind of sad. It just makes me mad. So I actually have kind of halfway decent things to say about the characters and the acting, and the attempts that the actors did to make these people you wanted to root for, because I was kind of upset that the mission wasn't. I could tell it wasn't going to work, and I'm still just wondering, who so very meticulously cut all of this found footage together. Doesn't make any sense, but anyway, that's all I have to say about characterization, and I will probably have a couple things to say later in round 3, but I'm just glad so many people made it, because it was looking kind of bleak there at the beginning. It might have been the shortest afterglow in history if Sean and Cruz and Thomas and Bill hadn't shown up. So I'm glad everybody else, especially Cruz, because Cruz always has he writes things down. He's so disciplined. He has such a good disciplined system for watching a movie. I just think of the first thing I can and just rant about it. So anyway, I didn't even drink caffeine this evening, so I don't know what's wrong with me. Anyway, thanks Tom, K5ICX in the net, NB5F.
All right, thank you, Virginia. And yes, Cruz does a very good job. He takes notes and makes comments and everything. When I watch the films, I usually go in and do dishes and take a shower and go to another movie while it's still running on the TV, whatever. Yell at the neighbor kids, things like that. I'm easily distracted by things around me, especially when the movies were as good as this one. But, that's okay, next up is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, the actors, the characters, what do you think? KB5I.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. I will give the actors credit. They tried. They worked with what they had to work with. I do feel that parts of it felt off for astronauts. It just didn't seem to quite feel like they were real astronauts for me anyway, in places. I agree. I think they definitely have more personalities than that, and usually they do, like to mess with each other a little bit. This didn't have that, but at the same time, they didn't really seem to be, they tried to play them as being, very, very straight-laced and, very military-like, but yet in places they weren't. Especially when they first started exploring the moon and they were going around and the one guy kept wandering off, even though he was told not to. Usually, astronauts pretty much stick to the plan. They don't veer off and just do whatever they want. Oh yeah, I'm going to go to this cave even though I was told not to. Yeah, why not? So there are parts of it that they felt like they weren't really astronauts, even though they were trying to play them very straight. They weren't always straight all the way through. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of talk. We really only got about 3 astronauts, pretty much the only characters in this. But I think the actors did try hard. I only recognize one of the actors, and he's typically in very low-budget films. I think he's been in a lot of stuff that's been made on sci-fi. Not had much of a career, I don't think, as far as any big hits. But yeah, they tried. I guess you could consider The Rock's a character, but there wasn't a whole lot of dialogue there. But I guess probably tonight after this discussion, I guess any rock that could fit in your hand, we should probably go out and crush just to play it safe, because apparently they're among us now. So anyway, that's all I got. Back to net, KB9SOK.
Thank you, Sean. Next up, Thomas, KI5JCM. Thomas, your thoughts on characterization for our movie tonight, Apollo 18. Go ahead. KI5JCM.
Well, one thing just struck me. The one guy is hitting everything with a hammer. Why didn't he try to smack and burst one of the rocks? It would seem like common sense. I thought the actors, they were trying with what they had to work with. And I know they've all gone on to do bigger and better things. I hate in horror films the reason people die is because they're stupid. And in this one, it was not necessarily because they were stupid, it's just the plot had holes you could drive a truck through. The magic rock materializes in the spacesuit. Miraculously, the guy knows how to fly a frickin' Russian spacecraft, and oh yeah, it's somehow going to dock with an American craft. I don't know. I think they were all forgettable. I was reading the summary and couldn't remember who was who, but they did give it a good effort for a really bad script. That's about all I can say. KI5JCM, back to net.
Thomas, they're astronauts. He said right at the thing, it works just like our LEM. He said that. It's identical except for everything. It's just legs, the window, and the door, and a ladder. I mean, we all know windows, doors, and ladders. We know how to work those things, so it's the same thing. It's a rocket. It's got an engine on the bottom. That's the only difference between the two. You just push the button and you head up to the spaceship. Easy. See, you can see it right on the ground. It's not that far away, like 12, 15 feet away. No, you could jump to the field. I don't know what's wrong with people. Space stuff. We know this stuff. Okay, let's see. Next up is Cruz, KI5KWG. Your thoughts on characterization from KI5 ICS.
KI5KWG. Let's see, what do I have here? I'll save that one for later. Oh, I don't want to forget. You were talking about unrealistic things and you mentioned James Bond, and I wrote down that I will have you know that my Zoom background, and this is true, is the James from You Only Live Twice. When I'm sitting there on a Zoom call, in the background, what you see is my evil lair in the inside the volcano with the launch vehicle behind me. So I love that Zoom background. So I'm going to do a lunar one, but I've never gotten around to it. Anyway, back to this. I knew this was going to be a very strange one when I heard Brenda laughing during the plot summary during Skynet. That cracked me up. So, okay. What do I have on characterization? I think a little darker on this, and I've heard some of these. I didn't like the frightened, anxious resolve. I kind of thought, hey, you took down our flag and flipped over my rover. We're coming for you. It's probably a little bit more if you could try to take this fictional story to the actual astronauts that we had during those days. Those guys were fighter pilots. They had shot down living human beings for less. So they were tough, and they would be focused on mission. So now, as for the actual acting, that's the characterization. As for the acting, I thought all three of them, that was all we had, right? I thought all three of them did a fairly good job. They were, for the lines they had and the characters they had to play, I thought they did the best probably they could have done with it. And in doing so, brought about, my last note, a happy ending. Because, my goodness, I didn't think this film was going to end for that last 20 or 30 minutes. And so when, by the time we got down to where they crashed, I was like, oh, thank God it's over. And that's really just how bad this movie was. KI5 KWG, back to net.
Thank you, Cruz. Somehow or another, it just can think. It says the movie fails. Okay, you just watch your protagonist just die a horrible death. It just tells you everything you need to know about that movie. Okay, next up is Bill, W5BLT. Now, Bill has said that he's seen 30 minutes of this film. Which 30 minutes, and when did you turn it off and go, from KD5ICS?
W5BLT. Yeah, Tom, I think it was right around the time he went down into the crater, and they were talking about things getting cold, and then the astronaut came back up to the ship, where I think it is. Yeah, I may have to go back and just torture myself and watch the rest of it now that you guys have made it so much fun for me. Again, I mean, it was kind of interesting the way they started doing it with the astronauts and things. So, but I don't know. Once I figured out, I was just like, okay. But I agree with everybody else that they did a good job with what they had to work with and the constraints of that. And I've worked for companies, and if they have a update release on software, it can be good or bad. And your tech support person's on the front line taking the compliments or flack for it. And so I think that's probably the same here with the actors. They do what they can with what they've got to work with in the script they were given. And character-wise, I think they played it as well as they could. I just didn't have any connection, I guess, to them. And anyway, without going into detail, I almost just turned it off after the whole jalapeno thing. But anyway, okay, I think I've said enough. W5BLT, back to you, Tom.
Hey, Bill. Friend is wondering what you're talking about with the jalapeno thing. What's the jalapeno thing?
You'll have to go back and watch it. W5BLT.
All right, that was probably the time when I walked away, took a cold shower, came back, and there were rocks everywhere. Okay, I'll keep that in mind next time I go and waltz away from the movie because I need to wake up. Okay, well, so far this has been a very, very interesting film to talk about in the sense that everybody universally believes the same thing. They love to hate these movies. So, here's our final round. This is the opportunity to really take and do the final death blow to this film. This can be special effects, the music, any parts you missed, any comments you want to add to or subtract from others of what they said. maybe somebody wasn't mean enough about this film, but needed to use more colorful metaphors in order to describe the acting, the show, the script, the music, the special effects, whatever it may be. This is round 3. This is what we'll go with. And we will start at the top with Brendan. WB5 OZL. Brendan, your thoughts. Please go ahead.
This is WB5 OZL. Well, okay, let's see. I have an idea for a movie of all the movies we see where there's some kind of creatures on Earth, on the moon. The astronauts go up there and they have to battle all these. Let's have a war between all of those creatures. They're all unlikely. They shouldn't be on the moon. Sometimes there's some kind of contrivance of, oh wait, there's a cave and there's an atmosphere in the cave, which is ridiculous. Anyway, we have really beat this thing to death. I'm going to keep flogging at it. So, I'm still having trouble with exactly what's the nature of this creature. Of course, they show it skittering by without really showing a close-up, telling you what it's like. So, does it live inside a rock, or does it become a rock? I'm not really clear about that. What is rock soup anyway? And, the thing was skittering around inside this guy's spacesuit, which in itself was ridiculous. And then suddenly it becomes a rock. They never really explained much. In fact, this movie was real short on explanation. Special effects, my goodness, they had so many spaceships and control panels and the moon. It must have cost them a lot of money. Oh no, wait, they didn't cost, but it did cost anything. Alright, back to net, WB5OZL.
Thank you, Brenda. You do realize that another movie, which will remain unnamed, but very familiar to us, had a big, square, black cereal box rock that turned into a baby. That was a rock, I think.
We don't know what it was.
Yeah. Well, whatever it was, we don't know what we just watched either. And yet we give that one a thumbs up, and this one is like thumbs down, and it has the same ending, sort of, kind of, not really. I just thought I'd mention it. Okay, let's see. Final round. Okay, Virginia, one final swing at this movie. Your turn from KG5ICX.
Okay, well, I guess it didn't really have music. It was supposed to be a bunch of found footage cut together. I'm still trying to figure out who found the footage and why they would have wanted to cut it together, and why this, during all this crisis, these guys managed to keep film rolling the whole time. There were cameras running everywhere, and even when things were at their worst, there was some form of footage being made. That kind of blows my mind. I guess along those lines, the main thing I'll comment on is the attempt. I'm always interested when filmmakers make an attempt to make something look real, look authentic, and look period. And some of it was okay, and some of it was terrible. They did the whole, look at the home movies of the astronauts, with their families, and they definitely had the era down. The tight-fitting T-shirts and Ray-Bans and the haircuts, and they did a pretty good job getting that feel. But I think these people always overdo it. They always put a little bit too much. They always put a little bit too much handheld, bad cameramanship, and too many flash frames, and just they always overdo that a little bit, and then it's really hard to get an era feel out of the video footage that would have been shot by TV cameras. It's really hard to duplicate that when you're making your movie in high resolution, and I guess it's hard to get a digital filter to change everything down to like 520 lines, NTSC or whatever the standard was that the Westinghouse color camera used. I think it was a higher resolution than the one on Apollo 11. That was a lower resolution, kind of a slow scan type TV. But anyway, that's usually where the rubber meets the road. Is when they're trying to reproduce the era video footage look. The film one they can get okay, but it's still always too high resolution. It's not grainy enough, and so it's obvious that they're faking it, and but they're good enough to where if somebody was really not knowledgeable and they started to watch this, they might actually, at least for a little while, be tricked into thinking that they kept a Saturn V launch in the middle of the night, that lit up, the whole coast of Florida. Somehow they kept it a secret. But that's kind of my main comment for the last bit, is that it's always interesting how they try to do effects to make something look period. And I do have to cite From the Earth to the Moon again. That is such a great series because it was made in the late 90s, and it still holds up over 20 years later. It still holds up, and it's still just as brilliant as it was back when they first did it. And they did a really good job getting that period vibe for the Apollo era. So anyway, that's it for me. Thanks, Tom. KE5ICX NV5F.
N5HYP.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, thank you, Virginia. You woke up N5HYP. He's been asleep for the last 3 months, and suddenly he's there. Well, Tom, welcome. I'll tell you what. We'll let you take custom line. I don't think Sean will mind. He's sitting over there washing his mouth out with soap after his last comments about this fine film. So please go ahead, Tom, with your comments from 85. The movie is Apollo 18 from 2011.
Hey, I did not watch the movie. I've been outside playing with satellites a little bit, but I agree with Virginia. From Earth to the Moon was great because Tom Hanks had a lot to do with it. The effects are hard, trying to make new stuff look old and make it look believably old. But there you go. Did not watch the movie, have not actually seen it, but I was out here, accidentally flipped onto memory, and I heard you guys, so I thought I'd say hi as I'm packing things up. It's N5HYP.
All right, Tom. Well, since you haven't seen the movie, let me give you a quick thing you need to do. Tom Hanks, if he had something to do with this movie, it would have been great. And, you got to see it. It's got a lot of Apollo hardware in it, and there's rocks, and there's things going on, and there might be a spider or two. Not the episode spider, but it does have spiders in it. You'll love it. So, in fact, rather than going to bed, watch the movie right now, and then report back at 3 a.m. Somebody will be here to give your analysis. That's always something to do. Okay, next up is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, your comment, parting shot, whatever you want, special effects, music, whatever. Go ahead. So KB5IC.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, I agree. It is hard to make new stuff look old. And one of the problems I noticed in a few places is that they kept even kind of switching how they were showing it. There was a couple of shots where they actually were temporarily showing the camera, and it almost looked pretty close, but then they'd go back to where it started looking HD-ish, or at least DVD quality again. So yeah, I don't know if they just had to make a decision. If they truly made it look like there was no footage, that maybe people wouldn't want to watch it because it'd be, you know, hard to watch on high-definition television, so they decided to just try to show that it kind of looked that way, and I don't know. My guess is it wasn't a conscious decision. It was just kind of what they did. I'm going to guess this movie was pretty cheaply made, and it may be why they kind of glared over so much stuff, because they just couldn't afford to do it to make it right. As everybody's brought up, they used a lot of stock footage. You know, they used props that had already been built. I'm pretty sure somewhere along the line I'd seen even that Russian module used in another movie. So I think they kind of used stuff that they could get their hands on cheap. It felt kind of like it. You know, it's like they didn't make a little bit of an attempt there. But I'm wondering with, you know, the aliens, of course, that was absolutely nothing there, hardly at all for special effects other than a few CG scenes. But once again, I wonder if that was due to budget. You know, and what could be cheaper than saying, hey, this is an alien, it's a rock. It's an alien. You don't get much cheaper than just buying a couple of rocks. You know, you can go take them from down the road. Don't cost you anything. So I don't know if it was a cost thing, is why they decided to do that, or if it's just really this was their ideal. If it was, it's pretty scary, but so yeah, not a lot in the way of special effects. I think they missed it on some respects. You know, they made somewhat of an attempt. Once again, I don't know if it's cost or just they opted to do it this way. But yeah, and one other comment came to mind is, yeah, supposedly, as everybody talking about this recovered footage, they showed the footage, the last footage of when the motion camera got destroyed and taken away by the aliens that couldn't be found. So how did they get the tape from the camera that magically disappeared? So yeah, they clearly didn't put a lot of thought into some of these scenes. But yeah, it's always fun talking, and enjoyed it as always tonight, and looking forward to the next one. Back to net, KB9SOK.
Let me get that quote again. Enjoyed the night and looking forward to the next one. Oh, wait, you can find out what the next one is. Next up, KI5JCM. Thomas, your parting shot, final comments on tonight's movie, Apollo 18 from 2011.
KI5JCM. I'm going to share one tidbit of knowledge I have from history that if the writers had done a slight bit more research could have made this so much cooler. In the late 50s, we were, believe it or not, it was one of the first programs Carl Sagan worked on, but we were thinking about nuking the side of the moon because the Soviets could see it and they would be utterly impressed, and we thought it would be easy. So with that little tidbit, how much cooler would it have been if these guys were sent to see what happened to the Russians, and at the end, the United States just nukes the moon to take out the rock aliens? But that's not the movie we got. So this is just more evidence that as a writer, you need to do your homework and not just a Google search. That's all I got. KI5JCM, back to net.
But we all do the Google search. We all find more information from the Google than from anywhere else. Then we go and Google what we want to Google and get the research views. But that's another story. You know, there's a lot of people that said we didn't land on the moon. And there's even more people that said we didn't land on Mars. But we know the truth. We know what happened. I've always wondered what happened to the blue spikes. Okay, next is Cruise, KI5KWG. Not KWWG, that's KI5KWG. Cruise, your final comment. Hey, we got special effects and things. Don't forget, gang. You can still talk about that and the music, whatever the hell it was. Please go ahead from
KI5KWG. Yeah, I'm kicking myself for two things, and I'll start with an explanation. Usually I take notes when I watch the film on Sunday, and that's what I did this time. And I watched it on Sunday or Monday, so I take notes because I'm going to sleep between then and the net. And so I take notes so I remember things. And so that brings me to the first thing I'm kicking myself about. I didn't write anything about jalapenos down. I do not remember anything about jalapenos. I want a jalapeno explanation. The other thing I'm kicking myself, it didn't dawn on me until the net had started, but this would be a fun one to have gotten my Roger beep, which I think my radio can do, to end each transmission instead of silence like this as I reset. And but I tried to set it while y'all were talking, and it cuts off the volume on my radio when I'm trying in that menu. So I had to abandon the Roger beep idea, but I thought that could have been fun. Okay, what do I have for this? Oh, I have a friend who was trying to explain to me how bad her ADHD is at times. And this was a couple of weeks ago. And it was while watching this film, I thought, this is what she's trying to describe. The filming of this, it was driving me crazy. Trying to follow what was going on in the film with the camera jerking and flashing and then going off to a whole nother scene and a different angle, and I was like, this is pointless. It's nothing but chaos. So there was my main thoughts on the production of this film. That was really, I don't know if it was supposed to have given us an effect of any kind. It was just simply irritating. So that's what I had. We sure have fun ripping movies apart, don't we? KI5KWG, back to that.
Yes, we do. Thank you, Cruz. And now, Bill, W5BLT. Bill, your final swing at this movie. Please go ahead. W5ICX.
All right. Well, you know, one thing that kind of stands out, and again, I only got 30 minutes in. I didn't recognize the music they played in that, you know, from that year. I don't know what the song was from, you know, that they were playing either over the radio or in the ship. I can't. It just wasn't a tune that I had heard before, so I'm gonna probably go look that up and see. But that's the only thing really that I had to add. It just kind of stood out to me because the other thing, and this is totally not with the movie, but it reminded me of it while I was walking around listening to it. You know, I became an amateur operator in the 80s and would listen to the shuttle broadcast. Sorry, I had to sneeze there. I would listen to the shuttle broadcast. I don't remember whether it's on 20 meters or 40. I think it was from the Carter Space Center in Maryland, and if my memory serves me correctly, but you know, I'm over 50, so I'm not doing as well. But anyway, as a kid growing up, I was just enthralled, and I would just set it on that frequency and just listen and imagining what was happening and what they were doing, and you know, I'd get up early in the morning if I knew that the wake-up call was going to be given and things like that. So anyway, that movie kind of took me back a little bit. So, in that respect, I suppose it was.
I thank you, Bill. Thank you. Let's see. Comments. I guess I'll make my comments on the last part of the film. The last part of this segment. I found actually the special effects in the film not bad. I mean, yes, you've got to remember that it did use some of that alien thing to make it dark. Using you can't really see the aliens. That was a contrivance that they pulled from that. But I found, interestingly, the spacesuits were done pretty well. I can see the differences because I goes in that museum, the A7L suit on display all the time. I've got that thing memorized, so I know what perfect the suit looks like as far as the real thing. But this one comes very, very close. I thought they did an excellent job with it. The A7LB suit. Now, it's possible they rented this stuff. I don't know from where, if they did. There wasn't anything that I could find on the technical aspects of it. There was a rental company mentioned in there during the credits. Yes, I watched the credits. So maybe that's where that stuff came from. There's a fellow, I can't think of his name, who is into that sort of thing. He's well known. He does historical and otherwise for motion pictures or museums. And does a very good job. It looks like it might be his work. But it looked good. The command module itself was fine. I think it could have been maybe a simulator or something that was done. I don't know. I looked high and low to find that information about the film as far as where all the technical pieces came from. From what I could tell, it looked very good. I did see some notes discussing the LK Soviet lander. There were 4 different versions of the thing that were created at different times, much like the lunar module or LEM had different designs as time went on. The LK also had different designs. This one that they showed was not the final version, sort of interim version, yes, of the LK, though really when you look at it, you really tell because it's not there for very long. But it is an interim version as opposed to the final. There is one on display in Moscow. There's a lot of pictures of it. That's the one that was most documented. That was one of the versions of the LK. So there's that. I don't really even remember the music of this, so it's probably forgettable because I forgot it. So it's forgettable. But I don't know. The slow pacing, I suppose it goes back to the plot. There wasn't a lot because it was all exposition because we didn't do much except to decide the module and then on the surface and back and forth. So they had to cover 88 minutes with a lot of exposition because really the only action in the film probably all total is about 50 long if you really think about it. Actual action takes place. The rest of it is talk. So there you have it. Oh, and by the way, your crew for Apollo 18 would have been, I believe, Joe Engel and Fred Hayes. Fred Hayes was the commander that Joe Engel was the module pilot, I believe. I can't remember who the third astronaut was. They had named the crew for Apollo 18, so they were about to be the crew. 19 and 20, no, there was no one had been assigned to the mission, but Apollo 18 was. And in fact, Joe Engel was asked he was supposed to be the commander, or was supposed to be on that mission. He was asked what he wanted to slate to Skylab. The Apollo Soyuz test project is not done yet. But the shuttle was coming. He thought it was coming soon. Yeah. optical shuttle. So we'll go Skylab shuttle. Where he ended up, the astronaut that actually had manually flown, that we're aware of, that has flown the space shuttle. At any rate, okay, well, you've been waiting for next week's movie, and you said you were looking forward to it. We have a documentary. Yes, a documentary, everyone. Everybody's sitting down. Brenda's rolling her eyes. It's from 1970. And it is. Some of you already know what it is because you know that I'm making a big deal out of this. Eric Von Daniken's Chariots of the Gods. The 50th anniversary version, no less. In HD. This will be available on YouTube, I think. You get a chance to rip a new one on this fine film from 1970. So our first and last, probably, documentary. So be ready. We'll see you here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Bring your tinfoil hat. We'll see you then. KE5ICX, and I'm clear.